Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Mike Apley, and I'm here with Tom Day. We're at Orscheln's in Manhattan, Kansas. We're going to talk about things that you can find here at the Farm and Home store for your herd, for its health, and more. Let's go, guys.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Well, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Folks, this is Dr. Mike Apley. He's a clinical pharmacologist and a bovine veterinarian at Kansas State's College of Veterinary Medicine, where he's in the Department of Clinical Sciences at our vet school. And we decided, instead of doing it in the studio, we just come out and shoot this episode at our local farm and home store, which is the Orschelns. So, yep. Welcome to the show. And you know, just in general, when you start thinking about people, you know, we still want people to work with their veterinarians.
Absolutely. And it's just that we realize that producers pick up things here too. And so we thought a trip through the medication aisle, the livestock aisle, would be a good way to highlight some things that are changing in January as far as authorization you'll need to use some of these drugs, especially the antibiotics, the medically important antibiotics. And this is a great place to illustrate what will and won't be changing.
Yep. So we'll start out right here in the old super duper cooler, and obviously we got different products, but you know, here's a bottle of penicillin.
One of the things you always do when you grab a bottle of penicillin,
shake it.
Shake it up good. Make sure it's all off the bottom.
That's why Taylor Swift's song, it's Shake It Up, not Shake It Off. So
that's bad. You'll pay for that one.
I know. So anyway, penicillin. What are we going to use penicillin? What are some of the characteristics about penicillin?
Well, penicillin we've had for a lot of years, and people use it for foot rot, a lot of different things. It's common on the farm. Right now, you don't need a prescription to buy this.
Right.
If you use it exactly according to the label. But if you use it any way other than on the label, you do need a prescription from your veterinarian and guidelines.
And we all use it different than what's on the label because it's not effective if you use it per label directions.
And so where you get in trouble with that is using it at 5 cc's per 100, where a lot of people use it, and the label is for 1 cc per 100. And then there's a withdrawal time. And the reason a veterinarian is supposed to be involved is so they can set that withdrawal time, as well as making sure what you're using it for off-label is an appropriate target, that it would actually do some good.
Yeah. So they're going to use penicillin. We're going to use it, you know, pink eye, foot rot, different types of ailments around the farm. But really, it's for gram-positive bacteria and things to that nature. So we'll be doing that. And basically inside the cooler, outside of the B complex, we really don't have any other antibiotics in here, but we do have some other products, as you can see, the different vaccines. And vaccines and antibiotics are not the same thing, right?
They're totally different. They're regulated by different agencies. So the changes people are hearing about coming up January 1, 2017 won't affect the vaccines.
Right.
They affect the antibiotics, and they don't affect the penicillin G we just handled, right?
Right.
Because that's not going to be changed.
Okay. So when we start to think about coming in here, folks, you need to be thinking about using the right drug for the right bug, and if you're going to use it off-label, you need to get your veterinarian involved.
Absolutely, and we should expect that the availability of this drug is going to be changed. Probably in a few years, not right away, but it'll probably change also.
So in the cooler, Pen G, B vitamins, vaccines. We're going to move down the aisle more after these messages.
Visit our picturesque town on the Santa Fe Trail for the Council Grove Fall Festival, featuring the Voices of the Wind People pageant on the banks of the Neosho River, September 16 and 17.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome. Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Mike Apley. We're at Kansas State University. Well, we're not today. Today we're at the Orscheln Farm and Home, and we're talking about things here in the vet aisle and things that you can pick up. And we were talking about antibiotics, Mike, and I'm going to use this as a pointer, but we have three different types of oxytetracycline. And I guess just kind of start out the difference between 200 and 300, and then what's the difference between a name brand product and the generics?
So the 200 has 200 milligram per mil, and the 300 milligrams per mil.
Okay.
So giving the same cc's of dose, you get more drug for this one.
Okay.
And it lasts a little longer, and it's different prices, different applications, etc. And then the generics versus the original brand names, they're also approved by the FDA,
Yep.
and they have to meet manufacturing standards and certain approval processes. There's two different ways of going around it. So they're the same drug, the same concentration, different manufacturer. A few things might vary, and those are called generics. So you have those choices, and just as we talked about Pen G in the cooler, it's the same thing. You can purchase these without a prescription today. You can take them home and use them according to label. If you're off the label, dose or indication, veterinarian has to be involved, should be involved, to help make sure you're using it for what it should be and to set an extended withdrawal time.
So when we look at oxytetracycline, why would somebody come down and buy an oxytetracycline relative to a Pen G or vice versa? What do we use these
Well, these
for?
can be used for foot rot. There's other off-label things veterinarians will use them for. They can be used for respiratory disease, etc. There are a lot of different antibiotics out there for respiratory disease. So if you're treating respiratory disease, this is another example of when your veterinarian should be involved. There's 12 or more different products labeled for respiratory disease. Which one would work best in your situation? Most of the rest of them are prescription.
Right. So when we look at other antibiotics that I see here on the counter, but I see some antibiotics here for lactating cows and basically for mastitis treatment.
Mm-hmm. So there's two of them here that are for one's for dry cows and one's for lactating cows, and they can purchase these without a prescription, use them exactly according to label. But just as for the other drugs, there's a lot of nuances to treating mastitis about which organism it might be. Some respond well to these, some don't. So working with your veterinarian to understand exactly how to use those is very important.
And you think that when we look at things like this, like the mastitis antibiotics and you know the over-the-counter oxytetracyclines, you know, we know that producers are going to use these. The big thing is making sure that we use them per label direction and make sure that we keep track of the animals that we give them to.
Absolutely.
Any other comments on things here? We got to go to a break here in about 20-30 seconds.
But there's other drugs here that won't be affected. Probiotics, obviously some of the dewormers, those aren't affected by the changes coming January 1, 2017, but still a good thing to talk with your vet about exactly what you're targeting, how you're using them, and getting the best value from them.
Yeah, folks, whether you're using them from the Orschelns, whether you're using them from a distributor, always get your vet involved so you make the right decisions so that you don't create antibiotic resistance and, more importantly, that your cattle are healthy. More from DocTalk and at the Orschelns here with Dr. Apley after these messages.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulders sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better, and so I went to orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. And said, well, we'll have to do surgery. I thought, I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. And I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio and gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
The BQA Tip of the Day, sponsored by Beringer Engelheim Vetmedica, Inc.
Howdy, I'm Kurt Pate from Rygate, Montana with your Beef Quality Assurance Tip of the Day. There's a lot of different systems to get cattle up into a race and into the chute. We have bud boxes, we have tubs, we have V's. My emphasis isn't so much on what you use, but how you use what you have. They all have different applications. Our job as a stockman is to learn how to use each system properly so we stress the animals the least and get the most done.
Buffalo Bill Cody earned his legendary title in Oakley. Bring the family and come celebrate Oakley's pioneering history and unique geography at 2 sites, the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center and the Fick Fossil Museum. Cody's statue marks his achievements and welcomes visitors to the Cultural Center. The Fick Fossil Museum houses world-class fossils and artifacts. You'll find Oakley at the hub of U.S. Highways 83 and 40 and I-70. Stop for the legend. Stay for the day. Discover Oakley. Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
No matter where, no matter why, the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University is committed to providing quality patient care to animals and exceptional customer service to their owners. From routine checkups to emergency and specialty care, our world-renowned specialists and experienced professionals are here to discover, to teach, and to heal.
Let us know.
How can I help?
How can we help?
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Mike Apley. We're from Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine. Kind of worked our way down the aisle here, and we started out in the cooler. We've been over here with the antibiotics. Now we're going to talk about milk replacers. And folks, when you buy a milk replacer on the nutrition side, one of the things that we look at first of all is you want to buy something that's a 20-20 milk replacer for that newly born calf, and 20% protein, 20% fat. And the thing I look at probably the most on the tag as well, besides what the protein and fat content is the fiber content. We want crude fiber to be below 0.15%, indicating that most of the protein that's in the milk replacer came from animal protein sources like whey proteins or milk proteins or some type of red cell or plasma, and not from plant protein like wheat or potato or soy protein, which has a decreased quality, decreased digestibility. May be cheaper, but there's a reason why they're cheaper. And we tend to recommend more of the milk-based proteins. What about antibiotics?
So you can look at the labels, and the ones that are medicated oftentimes have oxytetracycline or oxytetracycline and neomycin, two different common antibiotics. There's different types. There's ones for scours, and that one's labeled a type B medicated feed, which means that it's ready to be prepared and made into the type C or the final one that's fed. So when you look at those, starting January 1, 2017, anything that's medicated and contains a medically important antibiotic, again, neomycin or oxytetracycline, you're going to have the veterinary authorization in the form of a veterinary feed directive to feed that and to purchase it.
When we start thinking about milk replacers, the other question I get is, how often do I feed them? Read the label direction. I like to feed calves twice a day. You can feed them a gallon of milk replacer a day once, or 2 quarts twice a day. I do it twice a day just because I want to check the calves twice a day for scours and things to that nature. And then when people say, hey, when do I wean calves? I'll be always offer calves that are on bottle or on milk replacer, always offer them ad libitum water in a bucket and a starter feed. That's going to be something you can also buy here at the store, 18% protein, 10% fat. Once they are eating 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds of that a day for 2 or 3 days in a row, you can abruptly wean them off of the milk replacer. So many different things to think about, a lot of different milk replacers on here, but again, work with the veterinarian, make sure you follow the label directions.
Yes, and one of the things you may want to talk about your supplier of milk replacer is, do they intend to continue with the medicated milk replacer after the VFD is required starting January 1 of 2017? And it's a good thing to find out exactly where that's going to be available and where it isn't.
Yeah. So when you look at the bag, what are you going to be looking for?
Well, what you talked about the contents, the protein, fiber, and then I also look for the active drug ingredient. So for example, this one has neomycin and oxytetracycline. And the other thing you can look for is these will be very clear with the labeling about this requires a veterinary feed directive, can only be used under the guidance of a veterinarian through a VFD. So it's all about looking at the labels. Very important to look at the labels.
Great. When we come back, we're going to move into the feed grade antibiotics, from milk replacer to some of the things that you'll supplement out on the range. More after these messages.
Healthy cows start with the new hired hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher, leaving more time to tend to other vital tasks on the farm. To learn more, visit cowsprayer.com. The new hired hand makes healthy cows easy.
When your living depends on agriculture, you can depend on KFRM 550 AM. If you're in the southwest three-fourths of Kansas or the northern half of Oklahoma, catch us at 550 AM on the radio dial. But if that isn't you, listen on your cell phone at TuneIn Radio or on your computer at KFRM.com. We promise to keep you informed, entertained, and company as you go through your day. KFRM 550 AM, the voice of the plains. We would like to join your management team.
This Meet the Future Veterinarian is brought to you by Zuprevo. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Ellen Unruh grew up in East Central Kansas and earned her bachelor's degree in animal science from Kansas State University before attending veterinary school there. She is currently working on her master's degree in veterinary biomedical sciences, studying heat stress in feedlot cattle. Upon graduation, Ellen will focus on food animal medicine and do beef cattle research work. Broadband has become as important to us as highways. That is why DocTalk is teaming up with NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association, and rural broadband companies like Blue Valley Telecommunications in fighting for quality broadband access through the program Smart Rural Communities.
I don't think we have any idea what's coming in the future. I couldn't have imagined 5 years ago what we're doing today. So in 2 years, I would guess there's things we can't imagine that we're going to be doing.
To learn more, visit ntca.org/smart or bluevalley.net.
The new Better Horses Network is worldwide. Presented by Lucas Oil. Featuring worldwide radio and TV with iconic hosts like Al Dunning, Sharon Camarillo, Ernie Rodina, Lindy Birch, and Craig Cameron. With American Cowboy, Horse and Rider, Brushy Creek, Cavenders, and Ride TV. Worldwide radio and TV. The all-new Better Horses Network.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson and Dr. Mike Apley. We're here at the Orschelns, and we've been going down the counter, down the aisle, and now we get to the feed grade antibiotics. And Dr. Apley, these have kept you plenty busy.
Yes, they have. People are wondering how things are going to change, and this is a good example. This is a chlortetracycline 4-gram crumble. It's a type B medicated feed, and it will require a veterinary feed directive to purchase. So you'll have to go to your veterinarian, discuss what you're going to use it for, how you're going to use it. Veterinarian will provide you a veterinary feed directive. They may send the veterinary feed directive directly to the distributor or may give you a copy that you then take to the distributor, but you'll have to have those to purchase this starting January 1.
And so these are probably going to leave our feed stores or leave the farm and home. They won't be over the counter anymore.
It will depend on them whether or not they want to manage the veterinary feed directives. They can notify the FDA that there'll be a distributor, but then they'll have to validate the VFD, make sure it's correct, and then dispense on that VFD and know how much you've purchased versus how much it says. So it'll depend on if they want to do it or not.
Probably the most used antibiotic in beef cattle outside of feedlots.
For medically important, yeah, and it's used quite a little bit. So it's going to cause quite a little bit of change for producers, but it puts the veterinarian definitely in the loop.
We're using it for anaplasmosis control. We're using it for bovine respiratory disease. What are some of the other?
Those, and there's some things that is currently being used for that aren't on the label. For example, pink eye or foot rot. The veterinarian will not be able to write you a veterinary feed directive for that because that's not on the label, and they can only be used per label for a feed.
So when we start to think about antibiotics, getting this out is important. Getting this out, and what we're going to do with this, folks, is make sure that you keep your records. And what all do you want us to keep, Dr. Apley, for records?
How it was used, when it was used, how, if you mixed it, how you mixed it, or how you fed it, should all be on there. And by law, the FDA can go to a veterinary clinic or to a distributor and look at the veterinary feed directives and then follow those back out to the producer and ask to see the records of exactly how it was used. And if it's used other than the VFD authorizes, which can only be labeled, then there's a problem.
And when we start to think about this, obviously it's not going to be, you know, we're going to increase our verification of how these antibiotics are used out there in the field, but it's not going to be something like the first day black helicopters are going to show up. There's going to be a point in time where we're going to learn how to work through this as an industry and as a government.
The FDA is being very clear they intend to exercise phased enforcement with addressing problems, helping people understand how to properly go through the process. That will eventually end. But there's no one out there looking to make examples at this point. They want everyone to learn. They want this to go through smoothly, and that's what we'll be doing together.
Great. Well, folks, remember, always work with your local veterinarian, whether it's antibiotics that you buy at the Orscheln's Farm and Home, whether it's feed grade, whether it's milk replacer, whether it's injectable. Keep good records. Help us with antibiotic resistance. Avoid antibiotic withdrawals. Thanks to Dr. Apley being here with us today. If you want to know more about DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and we'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.